tonight. Thick smoke blankets the province as wildfires continue to burn. How one man managed to save his cabin from burning down, and what the upcoming Premier's meeting means for our province.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Friday, May 30th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams. Thank you for joining us. Smoke from wildfires has now covered the province, with air quality dropping in many locations. It comes as the fires continue to burn across the north. As of Friday afternoon, there are 14 active fires. Half of those remain out of control. Over 400,000 hectares of land are burning in Saskatchewan. That is equivalent to over half of the size of the Greater Toronto area. A reminder that the province's fire ban has also been expanded. It now includes all vacant Crown land and the provincial forest, including provincial parks within it. Numerous rural municipalities have also have their own bans in effect. The province has also banned the use of all-terrain and utility terrain vehicles in areas under the provincial fire ban. Aishwarya Duda has the latest.
The situation is especially dire around the massive Shoe Fire. Winds are shifting, blowing flames down south, threatening new communities. For many, getting out of fire-threatened communities is challenging. Roads are blocked by flames and smoke is hampering visibility. And the weather, it's not helping those fire crews.
It's going to take time, it's going to take effort, and there will be some losses.
The Shoe Fire started as 2 small fires and merged into one. It's now more than 300,000 hectares in size. To put that into perspective, that's about 13 times the size of Saskatoon. In nearby Candle Lake, there's a voluntary evacuation. Volunteers are going door to door, handing out information flyers.
There has not been called an evacuation at this time, but if in the event there's information on there that will tell you what will be happening.
Bulldozers have been running to cut a fire break, and authorities say they are nearing completion, removing those trees and bushes to create a buffer zone and stop those flames from reaching the community. That fire is just about 20 kilometers away from Candle Lake. Meanwhile, La Ronge also surrounded by multiple fires. The PCU fire to the west and the J. Smith fire near Brabant Lake to the north.
We need help. We need more resources to be able to put those contingency plans in place.
Chief Tammy Cook-Searson says thick smoke has been blanketing La Ronge. Children, elders, and anyone with respiratory illnesses are being told to avoid the outdoors. Fresh air shelters have been opened up in the area.
The conditions can change at any time.
Cook-Searson is calling for more fire equipment, safety gear, and a clear evacuation plan. Something many evacuees I've spoken to say hasn't happened. People from Pelican Narrows say they had little warning and could barely pack. Some were nearly trapped by road closures. The government says it's doing its best to provide resources and information as the situation evolves. Aishwarya Duda, CBC News, Saskatoon.
And the Canadian Red Cross is working to help Saskatchewan wildfire evacuees. It will be used for short and long-term assistance. The organization is registering evacuees along with providing meals and places to stay, and it's also raising money for evacuees here in the province. A vice president with the organization says it's becoming difficult to find temporary shelter for all the evacuees.
Well, right now our priorities are just getting folks that are really in need of a safe space to those safe spaces. Identifying those safe spaces is really obviously that priority when it comes to moving those folks and more importantly, working and communicating with our partners and the folks that, again, are surging into this situation to try to help.
The Red Cross is also collecting money for a wildfire relief fund, and you can find more information on that at redcross.ca. A crew of volunteers and professionals are working to protect Little Bear Lake. It is one community that's under threat from the massive Shoe Fire. But Marlene Barzil's 72-year-old husband chose to stay on the front lines. So she found a way to show support for those staying behind.
There have been so many donations from everyone. It's overwhelming.
I think she's going to take a miracle to save anything.
I left my husband there and a few other community members trying to save our community, and driving away was very agonizing. Initially, there were only 8 cottage owners that were left there. A few more people have arrived to assist. So it's miraculous that the community has been saved. To this point, we had to find a way to help. I said I was going to go shopping for a few things, and we were overwhelmed with our community's dedication, and we could get a helicopter to take the food up to our community that were working so hard. We loaded up the food into the helicopter. Then when it lifted off, and then away it was gone.
And while many people have lost property to the fires, there are stories of hope and triumph emerging. Trevor Phoenix owns a cabin on Besnard Lake, that's just northwest of La Ronge. He says while many of the cabin owners there have suffered losses, he was able to save his property.
On Sunday, we had an idea that there was fires approaching, and specifically approaching kind of the east side of the lake. It was pretty apparent that the fire was either already at the cabin or was going to be there pretty quickly. So I basically just kind of packed the back of my truck with some of the tools I thought I would need, chainsaw, hoses, things like that, and made a quick stop and grabbed more hoses and sprinklers and headed straight up there. The fire hadn't got to the cabin yet, and it was a little bit farther east than I was expecting. And so I could see the fire and the smoke kind of in the distance. What that did was gave me time to essentially kind of jimmy rig our water system so that I could put in some valves and diverters and start lighting out sprinklers and getting kind of the water on. By about 11 o'clock on Tuesday, cabin was fully surrounded. We basically had fire within kind of 10, 15 feet of the cabin, all around, front, side, back. We were losing water lines as they were starting to burn. So we were seeing water starting to spray kind of all over the place. But we were very fortunate and very lucky that we had enough kind of water suppression that within 5 minutes of it being surrounded, it kind of turned from a very dark gray brown smoke into more of a lighter, almost a smoke you'd see when you douse kind of a campfire, turned into more of a misty kind of white smoke. And at that point, we kind of just realized that we think we had saved it. Around the cabin, as far as you can see, all it essentially is now is rock, the odd tree stump, aside from right within a very close perimeter of the cabin where we were able to save basically the trees in the cabin, but everywhere else there is looks almost like a bomb went off. So much respect for the individuals that are out there fighting these fires. I can't imagine what these men and women are going through trying to save people's houses. I mean, we were able to do it because I was trying to save like a piece of our family and a piece of our history, and couldn't be happier that we were able to save it.
There's been a heavy focus on the response to all these fires, but researchers have been warning fire seasons are getting worse. One fire expert says climate change is driving that, and she also says it's not unusual to have large-scale fires this early in the season.
We kind of have the spring dip, this period between when the snow melts and when the spring rains really kind of get our ecosystems wet and the leaves come out to create shade and humidity again. And we are in the heart of the spring dip. Globally, our temperature is increasing, and we also know that it is that impacts of climate change are amplified at higher latitudes. The further we are from the equator, we're seeing that those changes are amplified, so that in northern Canada and the northern parts of our provinces and up into the territories, we're experiencing more than 3 times what the global average is in terms of temperature change. As we're warming, that means we're getting lower snowpacks, we're getting longer summer seasons, spring is starting earlier, and the drought begins to develop over the summer season earlier, which is increasing our vulnerability to climate-mediated impacts like wildfire. So the climate emergency is fueling the fire emergency that we're experiencing right now.
And we know the fire situation is changing very rapidly. Of course, you can always find news anytime at cbc.ca/sask. But there's also a new CBC interactive website tracking wildfires in Canada, the areas at risk, how much has burned, and the impact on air quality. You can find it all at cbcnews.ca. Well, this was what it looked like in downtown Regina Friday. Visibility and air quality significantly compromised because of all that thick smoke that has now moved south from all the fires. And it comes with a bit of a change to our weather as well. A bit cooler and cloudier for some of us Friday. The question now, of course, is how long is this all going to last? Are we going to get any substantial rain? Weather specialist Helena Mahalik has the answers in her forecast. We will have that, plus the latest on other fires in other parts of the country and the rest of the day's news when we come back. It is a touch-and-go situation in Flin Flon, Manitoba. After holding back a wildfire for more than 2 days, winds are expected to shift, pushing the fire closer to the city. Cameron McIntosh has more on the situation there and in other communities in Manitoba.
At least 20 wildfires are burning across Manitoba. Right now, the future of the city of Flin Flon rests on wind direction. For 2 days now, a fire line about 2 kilometers outside the city is held, but winds are expected to change, blowing northwest, pushing the fire back towards the city about 600 kilometers northwest of Winnipeg. On Wednesday, an evacuation order saw most of the city's 5,000 residents leave. As of now, only firefighters and emergency personnel remain. Premier Wab Kinew spoke this afternoon.
The situation there is very, very serious, and we are doing everything that we can to preserve life, but also to preserve people's livelihoods and homes in the region.
Flin Flon's mayor being very clear the city is in peril.
We've seen devastation across the country in different communities where this has happened, and there's a very, very high potential that it's going to happen here.
It's going to be hit or miss, Mother Nature. What can you do? So it's rebuilding, that goes through your mind.
About 100 kilometers north of Flin Flon, another fire threatens Matthias Coulomb Cree Nation. Helicopters, boats, and now Canadian Armed Forces planes are being used to evacuate hundreds from the community. Further east, the Air Force is also using Hercules aircraft to move a few thousand residents of Pimichikamak Cree Nation, who fled to a neighboring community after fire cut off access to their airport and highway south, which is briefly being reopened today. All told, about 17,000 people are trying to leave their homes in Manitoba. Meanwhile, as wildfires grow across Western Canada, Canadian firefighting resources are being stretched. International help is being called in. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Winnipeg.
These pictures are from west of Edmonton, where a fire is burning near the hamlet of Piers, urging people to move south and out of danger. An evacuation order was issued there Thursday night. And emergency crews continue to battle a wildfire burning near Churchill Falls in Labrador. It is now being held. The weather is improving and should help efforts to fight it. 2 fires merged into one on Thursday. However, officials say the winds are blowing the fire away from the community. And weather specialist Helena Mahalik joins us now. And Helena, that wildfire smoke causing such a degradation of the air quality out there.
Yeah, Ethan, here in Saskatoon, when I walked out of my house this morning, I could really feel it in my lungs, so I can't imagine how those in the north are feeling. Let's take a look at how our air quality warnings are doing in the province. Air quality is in a dire situation, obviously for the north at a 10 out of 10. But today, the smoke was quite bad in both south and central Saskatchewan, causing air quality to also be at a 10. In the southeast corner around Estevan, that's at a 9. And things are a little bit better in the southwest, only at about a 3. That's because it's one of the only areas not affected by the smoke. We are still seeing air quality warnings in effect for much of the north. The La Ronge and Pelican Narrows areas has had warnings in effect all week, but that has spread to the Meadow Lake, Hudson Bay and Prince Albert area. But air quality statements have expanded today through Saskatoon all the way down to the Estevan area. The smoke is set to continue. As we look to the weekend, the La Ronge area will grow more intense, and we still see some forecasted smoke for areas in south and central Saskatchewan. Friday evening, we are seeing some rainfall in the southeast corner around Estevan areas, but not anywhere we really need it in the northern parts of the province. There could be about a 30% chance Friday evening in the Stony Rapids area, but we'll have to wait and see if that actually happens. As we look to our weekend, it will be a very dry Saturday. Temperatures will climb back up to around 30 degrees, but Sunday we could have some relief there as we see a system could roll into northern parts of the province as well as the southwestern parts of the province around Swift Current, providing some moisture and relief to areas that really need it there in the north. Monday, we are seeing some cloud cover throughout most of south and central. Friday evening, winds are gusting up to 50 kilometers an hour throughout most of south and central Saskatchewan. Saturday, that is just in the southwestern parts of the province there, up to 50 kilometers an hour overnight in many areas of the province. Sunday, that continues throughout much of the province, the north where those fires are, up to 30 kilometers an hour wind gusts there. And we are seeing a high pressure system roll into the province Saturday. Temperatures will be back to around 30 degrees, which aren't doing very good with those winds up to 30 kilometers an hour for the north.
Yeah, not a good sign there. Okay, Helena, thank you.
Thanks, Ethan.
Well, despite the wildfire emergency, Canada's Prime Minister is still expected to meet with premiers in Saskatoon on Monday. Alexander Kwan unpacks what this meeting means for Saskatchewan.
As premiers from across Canada meet with Prime Minister Mark Carney in Saskatoon, it will be a historic day for the province. This will be just the second time that a First Ministers' Conference has been held in Saskatchewan, and the first time it has ever been held in Saskatoon. The meetings in the West come as both Saskatchewan and Manitoba have declared a state of emergency, and both premiers have asked for more resources. But still, wildfires are not expected to dominate the agenda. After a throne speech heavy on Canadian sovereignty and the economic goals of Carney's government, one expert believes the main talking point will be tariffs.
When you're in a conflict with the United States, it helps to have kind of broad national unity, to have the backing of a wide range of different regions.
There's no clear indication whether any new policies will emerge from the conference, but that doesn't mean the meeting won't be productive. It will be the first chance for all the premiers to meet Carney in person.
I think there's actual material to be discussed between the federal government and the premiers about how you develop a common strategy with dealing with the United States. So they have important stuff to talk about.
It's also important to remember that the Liberals failed to make inroads in Western Canada during the election. And since then, separatist movements have gained some traction in Alberta and Saskatchewan. That's why holding the First Ministers' Conference in Saskatoon may be as much strategic as it is symbolic.
Coming out to Saskatchewan is a way for the federal government to say, well, we might not have a lot of representation from Saskatchewan or Alberta, but we care and we're interested in making sure we represent Saskatchewan and Alberta.
Last month, Moe said Carney's government must deliver on 10 action items to reset Ottawa's relationship with Saskatchewan. The list includes a push to expand pipelines and infrastructure across Canada, an end to several federal policies meant to lower carbon emissions, and negotiations with China to end tariffs on agri-food products like canola oil.
It's a sensitive time in our nation, and I think it's incumbent on all politicians at every level to at least give their level best to attempt to work together.
Moe has said he'll raise those issues on Monday, but it's not clear if those goals are shared by Carney or the other premiers. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
A 55-year-old paraglider in China is fortunate to be alive following a near-death incident this week. He got stuck in an unexpected updraft, was pushed into the upper atmosphere, and hit an altitude of nearly 9,000 meters. Experts say he experienced a rare paragliding phenomenon when the glider gets pulled into a cloud system and stuck there. It is estimated the temperature was around -40 degrees Celsius. Stay with us. We're back after the break. Welcome back. There will be a Canadian team vying for the Stanley Cup starting next week. Edmonton Oilers fans are ecstatic. Their team beat the Dallas Stars Thursday to advance to the Stanley Cup final. The Oilers will take on the Florida Panthers for the second straight year. A Canadian team has not won the Cup since 1993. Oilers captain Connor McDavid is hoping to pull the reverse jinx. Superstition usually keeps hockey players from touching the conference trophies. McDavid didn't touch the Western Conference trophy last year, but the Oilers went on to lose the Cup final. So he's doing things differently this time around. In fact, the whole team got in on it. And here's a look at a moment going viral. Leon Draisaitl brought the trophy all the way back to the team's dressing room. Here's hoping they can bring the Stanley Cup home. And Helena, here's hoping we have some better news for our forecast.
Yes, Ethan, we're in desperate need of some rain, and it's looking like the Regina area is definitely going to get some this week. Let's take a look at Regina's forecast. Saturday, smoke will continue to impact the area, and we're seeing temperatures just below 30 degrees. But Sunday, we do have a chance of some rainfall, bringing temperatures down, and temperatures will stay cool the rest of the week as that chance of rainfall continues throughout the work week. Temperatures may jump up a little bit towards the end of the work week, but generally we've escaped this really hot streak that we've been seeing, and overnight lows will be returning closer to seasonal for this time of year, despite a hot night here or there. Saskatoon will also experience a smoky Saturday, but Sunday rainfall should bring some of that smoke out, and we're forecasted for some rain throughout the rest of the week. Temperatures closer to seasonal. As we get to the end of the work week, temperatures getting a little bit warmer, but again, the extreme heat isn't present here, and we're seeing overnight lows closer to seasonal, although this weekend, overnight lows will be a little bit warmer, Ethan, but overall, we're really feeling grateful for some of this rainfall.
Yeah, some hopeful news ahead for us all. Okay, Helena, thank you so much.
Thanks, Ethan.
And that is it for us this week. For all the latest on the fires and all of our news anytime, you can always head to cbc.ca/sask. If you're low on power or data on your device, you can check out cbc.ca/lite. That's LITE for all the latest. Thank you for watching. Stay safe this weekend.